Lately I have been reflecting on my life as you're wont to do when you're a man of my age. And, the times that we're in, I've come to realize just my many things to be thankful for my family and my health and lately my blender.
Stuff, stuff. I love my stuff. He loves his.
I do. I absolutely do love myself and my stuff. I love myself and my stuff. This is the Life Bettering Podcast. Welcome. This is the podcast that answers the question, what's the stuff that I love, and can I share that stuff with you that's life bettering to me in the hopes that maybe your life can be made better too by that stuff. So that's the whole idea is I love stuff. I share what I love with you that's life bettering in the hopes that maybe I can help you better your life. Now, today we're going to talk about the Vitamix 5200 blender, which is just a magnificent thing that helps make my life more joyful. It makes my life better. It's life bettering. But before I do, I want to tell you a little bit about my kind of backstory with a blender. And it's not pretty. The warning, if you have had trouble in your life with a blender, you might not want to go any further because this is not a pretty tale. The blenders of old, the blenders I grew up with, and in fact I inherited. The only other blender I've ever had, I inherited from my mother, and it was like avocado green, and it had the buttons, the square little buttons down the bottom. You push, and it says like chop and blend, and ice, and to my mind, they all did the same thing. You pressed it and something happened, and it all looked the same. I don't know what the point of the buttons was. But that's not even the worst of it. The worst of it was that if you didn't put that thing together like it was a Swiss watch, it would leak all over the place. So, I'm not exactly, a master of machinery. That's putting it mildly. I can barely get the top of the electric toothbrush on to fit together. I put the thing on and I turn it on and it flies off. It's a wonder that it hasn't gone through my cheek. So, I'm the kind of guy that injures myself with my electric toothbrush. So the idea that, there are blades inside of this thing that screws on to these blenders of old was a terrifying notion to me because you had to unscrew that in order to clean it. You have to expose all the sharp little inner workings of it. And I was sure that I was going to, wind up cutting my hand off. And so I rarely used the thing. That's one reason I rarely used it was because I was terrified of injuring myself on these, sharp blades. And then the other reason I never used it was such a pain in the butt to clean because you had to take it apart after every use. And like I said, the base unscrewed, and there was like this rubber seal that came off. It was loose. You could shake it. And if you, God forbid, you lost that rubber seal, because then you'd have to write to the company because you'd never get the thing tight again. If you didn't have the rubber seal, it would leak all over the place. And if you forgot the rubber seal, it would, and that's what I did on many an occasion. I would put it together and forget the rubber seal, and I'd have my stuff in the blender cup, and I'd put it in, and I'd do it look like it would go everywhere. And, so if I wanted to use a blender without having to repaint my kitchen after every time that I used it, there was going to have to be a better way. And so what happened was I just stopped using the darn blender. I think in the last 20 years of this blender's life, it sat in an upper shelf in my cupboard and just basically, collected dust. A lonely little blender, use me. But no, one, I was too frightened to use it because I had to expose the blades to clean it. And secondly, I was too terrified that I would, spray everything everywhere in using it because if you didn't screw the thing on, if you threaded it incorrectly, it would go everywhere. And so I just never used the thing, and I forgot about it. And so for years I never used a blender, which is a shame because a blender there's good reason to have blenders. I mean, they do good things. Blenders are important in the world, ladies and gentlemen, and so it's a shame that I didn't use one. So now we're in this pandemic, and so I'm thinking to myself, well, I'm going to nest now because I have to. I'm terrified. I'm like hiding under my bed. I'm still hiding under my bed during the day, terrified. But anyway, that's another story. So, but I'm going to nest because I have to nest, and so I'm gonna cook again, and I did, did much more cooking. And wouldn't it be nice to make a smoothie? Because I can't get out to buy a smoothie. I'm not going to go in the place. Even if it's open, I'm not going to go into the place to get a smoothie. So it'll be nice to buy a smoothie. And so then it came time that I had to, just stop and think, okay, do I really want to deal with the terror of exposing blades and cutting my fingers off, just to get a smoothie? And then I discovered something remarkable, and that is that blenders have, or my idea of what a blender is, has either changed or I've just been educated to understand that there's an alternative. So I guess what I'm saying is that, sorry for the interruption. That's my pet chicken dog, Hank. He's part chicken, and part dog. Hank, lay down. Hank gets anxious and he wants me to get on with the review. So I'm going to stop talking about this blender and I'm just going to get on to reviewing it. So here's the review. Here we go.
It's time for the review. It's time for the review.
Okay, time for the review. I'm apologize again for Hank. Here it is. The Vitamix 5200. Now, along with this, magnificent thing, I'm going to be showing some, if you're watching this on YouTube, and by the way, you can watch it both on YouTube and you can listen just on a podcast. And I will have links to all this product and everything I talk about. There'll be affiliate links, and you know what those are. If you click on it, I get some money, and then I can buy more stuff and review it, and then you'll want it too. And so look for those in the show notes, both on YouTube and in just the podcast show notes. And you can go find those podcast show notes at this web address. So let's go to this web address right here, which is lifebettering.info. So, okay. All right. So that's all I'm going to say about any of that. Okay. So now on to this Vitamix 5200, which is absolutely magnificent. Now, the first thing I want you to notice about this beautiful thing is the handle, and just it's rubberized, as you can see. And, you're not going to drop this puppy with wet hands. And then I want you to understand just how tall this is. Look, this thing is bigger than my head. So that's one thing you have to know about this, is you have to have room on the counter for this. And when you open it up, it's got this nice rubberized lid here. And it's got this little detachable thing that goes in the center that's clear. And the reason for this thing, it comes out, is because there's like this baton thing that comes with it. It's a long, thin, it looks like a cop's billy club, which is a little bit frightening and brings up a lot of memories that I don't want to talk about. But the whole point of it is if you put stuff inside of the blender and it gets, sometimes, if you got ice and things in the blender part, it needs to be stirred up. And so that you won't touch the blades, there's this thing that you slip down inside and it stops. It won't go all the way down to the blades, but it mixes the stuff up. And it's great. And it's made out of plastic and it's easy to clean. And that's the other thing I want you to see, that this is all one piece here, this blender. So the blades and everything are attached. There's nothing to take apart. When it comes time to clean it, it is super easy. And I'll tell you about that in a minute. But first, let me tell you, this is a 8-cup baby right here. So it's over 60 ounces. It's just magnificent. I could take the entire Royal Marines and invite them in and make them all a smoothie, and I would not run out of room in this cup. It's just fantastically large. It's certainly large enough for me and the bride. So let me tell you how I use this thing. Usually what I do is I first start with a little bit of the stuff called kefir, which is like this yogurty kind of drink stuff. It tastes like yogurt, and it probably is yogurt. I don't know why they call it kefir, but there it is. And I pour a little bit into the bottom, depending upon how many smoothies I'm going to make. And then the next, you'll see this in the directions. You kind of are supposed to layer up the stuff you put inside of it. So you usually put the liquid stuff on the bottom. And then if you're going to add any sort of like a powdery stuff, it's probably best to do that next. And that's what I do. I have there's this marvelous like peanut butter protein type powder, and it's flavored with chocolate. And you can buy that off Amazon too. I'll put a link. And I put a spoonful or so of that in, depending upon how much smoothie I'm making. And then I would add a half a banana just for me, a whole banana if I'm making 2. So, you got the liquid, then you got the fresh fruit aspect. And then what I like to do is, the last thing I like to do is I put frozen fruit in, because that gives the kind of, because I don't add ice. You cannot add ice, but then I got to freeze ice, and because I don't have an ice maker, and the reason I don't have an ice maker is because I've never had a refrigerator where the ice maker has lasted more than 27 minutes, and then it breaks. And so when we bought the last fridge, which I really like, it's a Liebherr, and I'll someday show you that, because that has made my life better. When we bought the last fridge, I just didn't bother getting the ice maker because I knew it would break. It's like this game. So in order to have ice, I have to put in ice. It's like old school. So, I just don't bother. But with the frozen fruit, and you can buy it at Trader Joe's or the supermarket, it's great, because then it's frozen and it'll provide that kind of ice cold kind of smoothie slushy type of thing. So I put a quarter of or so of a scoop of blueberries into the container, and now I have the layer. And then they say you should put the icy stuff on top, and then I put that sucker on its base, and I turn it up and I blend it. And I'm going to show you right now. If you're watching, you're going to see the clip. But even if you're not watching, if you're just listening on a podcast, you're going to be able to hear the thing sounds like a jet engine. That's how powerful it is. So watch this. This is the Vitamix 5200 blender doing its thing. So here we go. Oh, baby. Is that not exciting? And that was my concoction inside of it. And it just goes and goes and goes. And there are a couple of knobs. Not knobs, but controllers, little flippy things. And one is on off on the right side. And in the center is a dial, like 0 to 10, which is the variable speed. And then the flipper switch on the left is for variable speed, so you can use the knob in the center to change the speed. And then if you flip it up, it's like Saturn V rocket to the moon, which is what you just kind of witnessed there. Let me look at it. I'm going to show it to you again because it's just so good. Here it is again. Yeah, that's incredible. And you notice the base of it It's like, it's like the base of the Statue of Liberty. I mean, it's magnificent. It's heavy. It's sturdy. Nothing's going to happen with that base. And it's easy to clean. And so, I mean, you can feel confident. But with that base, it is tall. So you have to make sure, again, that you have space on your counter for it. Now, Vitamix makes blenders that are shorter and it'll fit under counter. So if you have that problem, you can investigate those as well. But this is the one I have, the 5200, and it's tall and I love it. And I measured, and you have to measure too, and you got to go figure that out. But it's worth it. Now, here's the best part to me, because I've moaned about this when I told you about my history with blenders. The cleanup, okay? So you pour out your slushy, into your cups. And now you got, residue in the bottom here. And by the way, like I said, this doesn't come apart. You never take this apart. Now you can take it apart. If you look there, there's a little like bolt that will slide this whole kind of section that has the blades out underneath. Because you can buy different kinds of blades. Now this is the blade that does blending. But apparently you can get a blade set that'll do like chopping. So in theory, you could do everything, I think, that a food processor does, just about everything, just by changing this blade set. And, there's like this debate among the, food world. Can you get away with a Vitamix for just about everything you'll need to do, or do you also need a food processor? And, I don't. The way I cook, I'd either chop it up or, I rarely use my old Cuisinart food processor that, by the way, is like 35 years old. But anyway, so now the cleanup. This is exciting. So you rinse this out because you got a little bit of blueberry smoothie left inside. And you rinse it out in the sink. And that's what I do. I stick it in the sink and I turn on the water and rinse it out. And then, and this is the best part, then I actually clean the inside of it, including the blades. But my fingers never get near the blades. I want to repeat that. The fingers never get rid of them. I don't stick like a rag down inside. I'm not doing any of that. What I do is I fill this container, the blender container, halfway with warm water. And then I put a few drops, just a few, don't get overly excited here, of Dawn dishwashing liquid, which I love also because that Dawn also makes my life better. You can use a different kind, but at any rate, just a few drops. And then I put that, the lid back on, and I hold the lid down, and I put it back on the machine, on the base, on that Statue of Liberty base, and I turn that puppy on. And I'm showing you right now, if you're watching, I have some B-roll of that being washed. And it makes this like magnificent kind of soapy slurry that cleans the blades, and it cleans the inside of the container here, and then you just pour it in the sink, and it's like this nice soapy slurry that, by the way, is a great way to clean the sink as well. And then I just re-rinse it out, and I kind of wipe it dry, or I just let it air dry, and it's cleaned. Gee, just like that. And I'll tell you something, it's so quick to do that I don't even drink my smoothie before I clean it. It takes me maybe 60 seconds to clean this blender. So I, pour the smoothie and I sit it on the counter waiting for me. It's kind of like the grandma's rule, you clean your room and then you get a cookie. Well, for me, I clean the inside of the blender cup and then I get my smoothie. So I clean it, and once it's clean, I put it back, and then I, drink it. And just like that, and I don't even towel dry it. It's air dried by the next time I'm going to use it. I use it maybe every other day, or sometimes every day. And it's just so easy to use, and it's just such a pleasure. And I I can't say enough about it. Now I do hold the top on when I use it. That little top that goes over it. I mean, I imagine that you can attach it down solidly inside of there, but I'm too chicken. I make sure that I hold the top so it doesn't go flying out, like a booster rocket, and everything goes on the ceiling. All right. The Vitamix 5200. What do you think, Hank? Okay. Hank loves it. And if it's got the Hank seal of approval, I want you to check it out. Look at the affiliate links. And if you think this will better your life, like it betters mine, please consider it. And I know it's expensive, but I got to tell you something. I wish I knew about this when I was 20 years old, or either they had it or I knew about it, because I know I would probably get, I would have gotten the last 47 years of use out of it, and it would still be going, because this thing is built like a tank. And, it's expensive. And if you're just, if you're a young person and you can't afford, ask for a gift. Put it on the gift list. If you're just starting your household, put it on a gift list. This is the blender you want, folks. You'll only have one. All right, until next time, I hope this was helpful. Please get in touch with me. If you're on YouTube, leave some comments. Do the subscribe thing. I don't really understand what any of it means, but push buttons. I think there's a little badge down the corner that you can push and it subscribes, whatever that means. Just do it, because I guess it's good for me, and it's going to be good for you, because then you'll hear me talk about the things that make my life better. Until then, this is Tom Bray saying, I hope your life keeps getting better and better, and I'll see you next time.
Stop!